In this lesson, we'll cover the radial array command. So the radial array command is a way you can actually copy elements around a central point, but make multiple copies at given intervals, or in this case, given degree angles. So let's zoom in around the column in the lower right to use as an example for our radial array. So let's go ahead and select the column. With the column selected, let's choose the Array command on the Modify panel of the ribbon. Now on the Options area of the ribbon, choose the second icon in called Radial. Verify Group and Associate is checkmarked. That way it's going to group all of these elements together that we create within the array. The number is going to be the number of items arrayed, or copy and rotated as they're arrayed around. Move to means the angle that we're going to create is either between the first element and the second element in the array, and then that spacing is carried out for the rest of the elements, or between the first and the last. You can also specify a specific angle in the next box if I wanted to. Now the center of rotation is important because if I look right now at my screen, I see the center of rotation is in the middle of the column. Therefore, if I array three elements, they're going to sit stacked on top of each other, and that's not what I want. So I'm going to click the Place button on the ribbon, and then I'm going to move to the right of this actual column, and for this example, it doesn't really matter where, and I'll just left click. That actually moves the center of rotation for this array. Now, with Move to set the last, I'm going to define the overall angle from the first element to the last element. We're going to make it 90 degrees in this example. So I'm going to move my first line or reference line horizontally to the left. Go ahead and left click. Then rotate the line up vertically till you see a 90-degree angle appear. Now this is going to specify the distance from the first to the last element, and then all the other ones are placed in between. So go ahead and left click when you see it vertical. Now I see in the background there's three elements, and it's asking me if you want 3 applied, and it'll be visually shown just like you see. But let's say we change 3 to 4. The first and the last stay the same, and the other 2 are added in between, and it adjusts the actual spacing equally. So when you change 3 to 4 and hit the Enter key, you see that updates now and places those in between the first and the last. To deselect, just click in the background. Now to get back to the actual array and its settings, click on one of the elements of the array. Once you click one of those elements, in this case the column, you can change the quantity, such as I can click on 4, change it to 3, hit the Enter key. I also can change the dimensional value for the radius of how far out or in it is being arrayed. You also can edit the group or ungroup these. Now I'm going to ungroup these so I can delete them. So I'm going to click Ungroup. I ungroup the elements of the array. I'm going to select the 2 that we arrayed and delete those. Click on the original column again. If it belongs to a group, click Ungroup. Now, let's array this again, but we'll look at the difference setting for a distance of first to second. So with the column selected, let's choose our Array command again on the Modify tab. Verify Radial is set. Check Group and Associate. Let's change the number to 5. Move to, we'll set the second, and let's click Place to change our center of rotation. And again, out to the right of this column, just click a point. Now for my measurement angle, drag your line so it's horizontally to the left, and left click, and drag up to 45 degrees. Now this is going to set the distance between the first element and second element. All subsequent elements, in this case up to 5, have the same spacing. So when you see 45 degrees as an angle, left click. And now I see all of those are spaced out. If you change 5 to 7, let's say, and hit the Enter key, it adds 2 more, but the spacing remains the same. To deselect, just click in the background to deselect. And just like previously, if you wanted to edit this, change the quantity, change the dimensional values, simply click one element of the array, and here's where I can change those quantities of what's being arrayed to something different. I can also change the dimensional values, and I can edit the group, or I can ungroup it, and I can view the dimensions by activating Dimensions. To deselect, just click in the background to deselect. So as a review, in this lesson, we talked and discussed the radial array command. We looked at 2 different ways to create the radial array. One, by defining a distance from the first element to the last element, and then all of those elements being arrayed are placed between those. We also looked at creating an array by defining the distance from the first to second element, and then all the elements after that have the same spacing. We looked at editing an array, changing the quantity of items in an array, changing the dimensions, and also ungrouping the array.